What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Science Student, and we're going to be doing another tabletop video today. So, we are first time that we are recording since Thanksgiving. So, hopefully, everyone had a great holiday. I will kind of just go into a little bit of my own and say that I had a bunch of family come into town, which surprisingly enough actually ended up being a good thing. Because sometimes I think, family can be tough for a lot of people, including myself. But I had some cousins that I really like and haven't seen in many years, and they were in town, so it was nice to have them here as well as a whole host of other people. So it got a little crazy because then we also had a wedding as well for one of them, so that was like a whole 2-day affair, Black Friday and this last Saturday. So I also want to say, speaking of Black Friday, we did our first ever kind of like holiday sale. Usually I don't do a Black Friday sale, but I decided, everyone does a Black Friday sale, so why should we be any different? And it looks like we had, a really good turnout actually. So I want to just kind of welcome all the new members and make sure you guys are using that master navigation post and yeah. So now that you got to kind of see me, that I do exist and everything, and we're gonna go ahead and try to kind of get back on a horse here and get back to making content. So today we are going to be doing the Enticer L, which is a follow-on from when we did the Enticer S right here. So we'll point out where this content is in just a second, but Enticer L, I keep it in a old gym sock here because I really love keeping this thing in good shape. But there it is. I really like this color, by the way. Kind of like it's like if gunmetal and then FDE kind of mixed together a little bit, or something along that line. So just a very unique shade of FDE that I've really liked. So you guys have seen me shooting this, I'm sure, on like the Instagram and things of that nature. But today is the day that we are going to, introduce it to you guys. And then this week, Friday, we'll get the data processed and we'll get it on our rankings. I feel it's important to get both of the Enticer cans on there because, especially on Facebook and Instagram and things of that nature, and then just conversations in general, they get talked about quite a bit. We've got Pew Science has them ranked with their system, and then I want to have them also ranked on our own system. So we'll see kind of where they fall. That peak DB versus full waveform data. Who knows? So far, the Enticer S did a really good job for us. It was right in line with where you would think it would be, especially from how I've talked about it and things of that nature. So we will see, because we've got the Nomad L, we've got the Hyperion on there, which are like the two kind of cans that this thing is kind of head to head against. And then of course our real focus though is design, which I can't unfortunately go too much into design on the Enticer series, as there's not public information yet out there. But we can take the data and apply it versus all of our Form 1s that we've ranked. So gives you guys an idea of, just where we're at, with our Form 1 designs versus our commercial designs out there, rewind a couple of years ago, and actually rewind just even probably 8 to 12 months ago. And most people didn't take, a lot of this stuff very seriously or thought it could compete. And now, as cans like the Enticer, the Anthem series of cans, the Hydrogen and Polonium series of cans have come out, the offerings from Brazilian suppressors as well. Because most people know that those guys got their teeth cut in the Form One world. It's brought a little more light to the fact that it is possible to make good cans without having this legacy of 20, 30 years of can design. Good ideas and a solid backing and a decent test procedure can get you going. But there is no substitution for good and fresh ideas. You can have the biggest research and development arm in the world, but if you can't come up with fresh ideas, you're just not going to get there. So, most of these cans, I've talked about it before in our live streams, they're not like brutally complex inside, but they are kind of marrying up a lot of different ideas uh, in the proper ways, proper proportions, proper clip size, proper whatever, just the devil's in the details. And I say that a lot. So, this is where I'm going to go ahead and end, where you get to see me. And we'll go ahead and we'll hop on DDC's website and we'll just get a quick spec, and a quick tabletop here on our Enticer L. We already went into a lot of it with the Enticer S, so I'm not going to cover too much, I don't think, but we'll just kind of see where the video leads us. So first things first, if you guys want to find that previous video with the Enticer S, you're going to need to locate the master post here from back on October 26th. We keep adding to this every single week. And I send that link out in your inbox on Patreon when you join. So, as well as a video on how to navigate the Patreon. So, make sure you're up to date on that. But once you're on this master post and you hit continue reading or whatever, it drops down everything. All the members who have been with us for a while know this, but since we got so many new members, especially over the last week, I do want to make sure, since this is the first video that's coming really out since a lot of those joins from Black Friday, that we get a little refresher here. But I'll try to make it brief. You've got kind of the videos of first of like the week or whatever, and this kind of gets you started. Okay, so right here, I try to keep this to about 2 to 3 weeks worth of content up on the top. Then you get into kind of our guide to can names and whatnot, and the tabletop videos for a lot of those Form 1 rifle cans. This is rifles. Pistol stuff, 22 stuff's at the very bottom. And then I break out anything Form 4 related below the rankings section. So here's where you get all your up-to-date rankings and whatnot. We're actually due to do another video on that. We got a general kind of section with a lot of different stuff, trimming cones, and then here's where you get to that Form 4 video, as well as kind of where I talk about some of the spec sheets and what I like as far as Form 4 cans. So Enticer S is going to be right here, as well as tabletop for it right there. So that's where I would probably start if I were you guys before this video, if you haven't already. But today's video, you'll find it right here as well. So as we hop on over to Google, Diligent Defense Co. And I apologize that I have the thing a little bit small, but we'll break it up and make it a little bit bigger here in a second. So a quick Google search, just typing in Diligent Defense Co. should pop you up this guy right here. You're going to have all your different sections at the top, and suppressors is where we are focused today. So we'll go ahead and click on that, and this should bring up the titanium, which you see TI there at the end versions, and then the 17.4 versions. So, if you are someone who wants, as lightweight as possible, the TI versions are there. And then if you're someone who's looking a little bit more on the durability side of things, where and then that becomes like, okay, most things TI is perfectly fine for. But if you're going to be shooting stuff like 5.56 or short barrel rifles and things of that nature, then it's probably a decent idea to consider 17.4. Also, 17.4 is going to be less expensive to produce. So that is, something else to consider. I personally, even though I have access to any, type of can basically, I personally prefer 17.4 cans over everything, especially if you make them correctly, because you get extremely thin with 17.4 and still achieve lots of weight reduction while keeping your strength up quite a bit, actually. So Enticer already has a very good balance of that built into it. So in my opinion, I prefer the 17.4 versions. But today's focus is the L. So we're going to be looking at the L here. So we're going to start with the 17.4 can. So again, like I said, extremely affordable. That was something that DDC wanted to achieve. They wanted to make it where you could get literally a grade A, precision type can for the budget of, like a YHM kind of can or something of that nature. Uh, so at $600, especially for an L can, they did it. The S can is even cheaper. You're going to have just a couple basic options currently as far as coloring goes, and that is basically, your raw 17.4 like you see here, which is beautiful, or, your traditional black. Now, you might be wondering, how do you get to said can? There's some confusion. I've gone into this in some live streams and stuff, but you want to use Silencer Shop and the can isn't on Silencer Shop, no big deal. You just buy it, send it to your local LGS that is a Silencer Shop dealer, the same one you would have sent it to if you bought from Silencer Shop, and then you still process the stamp through Silencer Shop. That's it. So don't be scared about buying a can that isn't, on whatever website it is that you traditionally use, because you can generally use that same place still. A lot of misconceptions about that. But if we scroll down, we are going to get to kind of like our specs and things of that nature. So it's 30 caliber can. So you're going to see kind of your traditional 30 caliber offerings that people rate things from. This is a 16250 OD can, so it's not going to be your monster 175s that are becoming ever popular. So keep that in mind. You're getting a little bit smaller can, yet you're getting that 175 performance a lot of times. Your weight is 17.1 ounces, so for how big, long and everything this can is, you're going to find that that is very comparable to its peers. In a lot of ways, it's even lighter than a lot of its peers. You're at 8.25 overall. So that's something else I kind of want to point out, because there's been this trend to go all the way out to like 9 inches lately with L cans, even 8.5. And they're coming in, under that 8.5 to 9. So they're trying to keep it as skinny and as short as possible, even in a long class, and give you that same level of performance. So it's something to keep in mind as we go through. They've got modest, like warranty barrel length restrictions and stuff, and firing schedule recommendations and things of that nature. If you have questions like, how far you can push this can, I would email them, okay, and they'll let you know if, A-okay or no, don't go with this or whatever. Generally speaking, though, I feel like this can is able to handle more than even what they actually rate it for. Not to say that they don't already rate it for what most people are going to be using things for. I mean, most people, the shortest 5.56 they're going to be running is around 10.5. Is your typical Mark 18, basically at 10.3. Don't get all hung up on that little tiny 0.2 difference. 308. I mean, who's going to be running anything smaller than this? 300 black supers. Anything under 7 inches is already kind of not you're already basically around 9 to 10 inches is like the sweet spot for 300 black super. So 7 is like the low end, so it should be covering 95% of people out there. Subs, same kind of deal there, and your upper magnum caliber stuff. I mean, most people are going to be running longer barrels. I mean, does anyone run a barrel on 300 Win Mag under 20 inches typically? Not to say that it hasn't been tested on shorter. Like Andrew's got his 12.5 that he uses just for destructive testing. Our DDC's had it shot on this, and it does just fine. But for the warranty purposes, this is where they have everything. And a lot of times people, I think why I'm kind of talking about this so heavily is people will see like where a line in the sand is for the warranty, and they'll think that as soon as you cross it, like things are just going to implode or something like that. No, most companies, they're putting a line in the sand there because people tend to overdo things, right? So they kind of have to go conservatively a lot of times. Now, there's also this other practice that a lot of companies do where they put no restrictions at all. That's more marketing a lot of times. There's always a way to destroy every single can, especially a lot of the cans that are marked, no barrel restrictions and whatnot. uh, you know, they're just banking on the fact that most people aren't ever going to shoot on anything more aggressive than, you know, things that you see here. So it is what it is. If you're one of those people who's got to buy a can that says no barrel restrictions, then I guess this can's not for you. But I think it's a great choice personally. And then you've got your Thai version. So even in titanium, we're still seeing a really attractive price here. Okay, there's a lot of 17.4 cans that are this price, and you're getting a Thai can for this kind of level of price. So I'm just trying to point out that you're getting a ton of extra value on top of a kick-ass can. All the specs are basically the same, except for now because of material, we are 10.5 ounces. So quite a bit lighter now. You're going to notice that when we get down to the minimum barrel lengths, everything is exactly the same. Really, the only change is going to be that firing schedule, as they're not going to rate it full auto. Now, that said, you're still going to be able to run it pretty hard on a lot of different things, okay? They're, again, just trying to make sure they don't get basically idiots out there who go and throw it on their 10-inch 5.56 and run 4 mags of full auto, you know, as fast as possible, things of that nature. You'd be surprised at what Thai can handle, but that said, heat is what kills titanium typically, and unburnt particulate matter close to the muzzle, that's another thing, you know, from an abrasive erosion type perspective. So that is only really going to really come up on things like 5.56, maybe 7.62 by 39. But generally speaking, everything else is fairly tame when it comes to that kind of stuff. But regardless, they you know, basically just don't want you to go and, you know, beat the living shit out of it with 5.56, because most Thai cans, and I say most, the majority of them won't be able to handle that anyway. There are a few exceptions out there, and that's because they've forced you to run a brake, you know, with the dedicated mount, or they've, you know, lengthened the blast chamber so much that you're not getting as much heat transfer, nor as all that abrasive matter close enough to the blast baffle to get to pit it and destroy it, basically. But for the most part, Thai cans, you know, that's where they're gonna have their problems. Other than that, anyway, you get again, you know, just a kick-ass suppressor. It's gonna come with just a regular direct thread mount, 5/8 by 24, and you know, basically no bullshit warranty. Just make sure you're not going too crazy on you know, pushing the limits, you know, past what they've got on their warranty schedule there.
So there's not much to really go over here. We can fact check, you know, just a couple things off the website. I'm running an Atlas mount in it currently. Pull this out real quick. You can see how great it looks with that Atlas mount on there too, by the way. We'll give it a quick wait. Now this is 9.668. Okay, this is a Thai version. So what was it, 10 and a half or something on the website? So that's going to include probably the mount, which this is a half by 28. So it's actually going to weigh slightly heavier than a 5/8 that comes with it, which would get us right at 10 and a half. So basically dead nuts. Like we talked about in the Enticer S video, you're going to want to watch that just because I'll go more into depth on some things. But, you know, you got replaceable end caps. You can use the DDC end caps. You can use any of the like Sandman or Nomad series end caps from Dead Air. They're cross compatible, so you can use the caps on Dead Air stuff as well. There is, you know, different bore size caps too. So say you want to run this on 5.56 or, you know, 6mm, you know, like I run it on 6 arc. I throw the 6 243 bore cap on, and voila, I'm ready to go. You will pick up a little bit of performance doing that on this particular can. Not every can do that, but a lot of cans, going to a properly sized cap can help. It's actually going to, in this particular case, it's going to make the coaxial chambers work a little bit more efficiently. You're looking at about that much size difference. So if you can tell your one seam, two seams, so it's not like too much difference. You're going to notice where we line up for like where the blast chamber, everything should be more or less the same. So it's just taking off a couple distal cones going from the L to the S. That's the only difference between the two cans. So that's really it. I mean, we talked about length, we talked about now weight, we've talked about everything we can basically talk about, I think. So this is a nice and short and sweet tabletop review. And yeah, you got hub threads, so you can run whatever mount of choice you want that's hub threaded. The DTF series of cans, very similar, but there'll be a larger bore inside, so you'll be able to run 9mm, 8.6, 338 cartridges like that. So we'll probably talk about those cans at some point. But yeah, we'll see you guys Friday for shooting it.